at this time, one of the greatest coaches up and coming in our generation or any. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, as always, to YSN, Eric E.B. Bailey.
What's up, guys?
Hey, we were just reading your bestseller
That's right.
on the New York Times
New York
list.
Times?
What? All right, explain your comment.
I don't know. I mean, you guys made a lot of good points, but if you kind of play the percentages, D1 athletes are like not 1%. So to get professionally, and Anthony kind of related to it, like you only have 14 WNBA teams, so you're taking 2 rounds, so 60 players, or not even that, 28 players, and then just insert whichever. So you're kind of like the 0.5% of the top 1%. But I think what people don't realize when it comes to sports, especially women's sports, the way that these girls start to affect, the industry, whether it's softball, volleyball, basketball, whatever it may be, is generally outside of the professional realm. Like there's a lot more basketball players now who are starting club programs or getting back into AAU and giving back that way, and helping that next generation get to wherever they want to go, as far as college. And I know everyone hangs up on the Division I, that's an end all be all, but that's just going to get tougher and tougher anymore with the portal and the rules changing there. And you have kids around here who might have went D1, or now they're looking D2, or you see what kids at the D3 level are doing, not just Ken's, but I've had a multitude of players who played for me via AAU or just high school that went D3, and they've had great success. So, and those girls, like they still want to give back one way or another. And maybe it's not being a professional athlete, but they start to help with the youth, or they start youth programs. I just know with our youth program, you have a ton of women, I should say, that were great basketball players in our area. And then maybe they went to play, Division III, Division II, or some other sport. Maybe they didn't, but then they kind of utilized their love and passion to bring it back to their own community. So it's one of those, there's multiple different ways to do it. And I think a lot of times we get too caught up in the, hey, if I don't go D1, I'm not successful. But you're going to have probably a larger impact outside of what you could ever do professionally, just by kind of giving back too.
All right, so I have to ask you this question, because you're a guy that is an incredible evaluator of talent on the basketball court, boys, girls, and you also do a lot of kind of, I don't want to say marketing, but speaking on behalf of and connecting the dots for some of these players. What is the conversation like whenever parents or student athletes come to you and say, I'm not going D3?
First question is why? I mean, why? But I think that's too many people want to sell a dream or give the smoke and mirrors, but they don't know like what's wrong with D3. There's a lot more D3 opportunity, and even taking visits with hypothetically, I'll use her name, Abby Davidson, who went to YSU. Now she's navigating the portal, whatnot. That's her story to tell. But we visited D3s, and she absolutely had nothing bad to say about it, and she didn't think she was above it. My question always is why. A lot of times our girls from this area in general, they're homebodies. So, and that's the great thing about the D3 and even those D2 schools, is they give you that hometown feel, but they're just a little bit bigger, and sports are a little bit different. But I mean, the question, they're not going D3. I'd say why. What's your parameter to why are you thinking so less of it or low of it? Mount Union, for example, right now has a ton of athletes from our local area who actually had D2 offers, and whatever the reasoning for going to Mount, whatever it is, I mean, but they're equally just as competitive. You can look at your Baldwin Wallaces, you can look at your John Carrolls, Westminsters. I mean, we have a ton of D3 schools around here that have kids playing that had ample opportunity to play up higher, and I think once they get on campus and they see what it really is and realize that, hey, I'm here for, basketball, football, baseball, whatever it is, you know, it's the other 80% of life that they got to figure out that's going to help them too. And that's where I think D3s kind of have that advantage. And also, the D3s give you a lot more, I guess, sport life balance. And a lot of D3 coaches would tell you that, you're not tied to being, sports all the way through the summer or during the season. Once you're done with practice, you can kind of have a little bit more of a life balance. Or if you want to go home, it's not like you're tied to certain things. So there's plenty of advantages to Division III, Division II, JUCO, NAIA. I mean, they each offer something a little bit different, but I don't think anyone should ever go into a situation thinking they're above whatever that level is. So we get too caught up in what the level is.
Right. Just to go deeper into that conversation, EB, the old adage is comparison is a thief of joy. How much do you think that, when you look around and you open social media, especially if you're an athlete, you see, oh, they signed to Oregon, they signed to Penn State, they signed to Tennessee, whatever. And then you want to be that, and you kind of compare yourself to these athletes. How much do you see comparison, especially on social media, be a problem with holding these players back and not being able to see the D3 and D2 opportunities?
It's like you said, it's a thief. It's a natural human thing that we all compare each other to one another. It's kind of a ego thing, but your story is your story. So don't give your pen to someone else to write it. Like that's my take on it. And any of my girls, and I'll start to navigate a little bit more this year with my AAU group because they're all going. They just finished up their junior year. They all had a great year, but the message will always be what fits and what is best for you might not be for your teammate. We all have different paths. So, you got to walk down that path and take it as it comes. Like we can't compare. There's going to be a ton of people in the area. Sophia Gregory's having a phenomenal year. There's no one else who should compare themselves to Sophia Gregory because Sophia Gregory is just focusing on what Soph does. If there's a junior in high school trying to compare themselves to Soph, you're just limiting your options and opportunities because you've set a precedent that it's either this or bust. And she's a unique player. I mean, every kid needs to understand that they are one of one, and what you put on the back of that sports card is up to you, no one else.
Timing is a big thing of this too. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that people don't realize is timing is everything when it comes to getting a job or landing at college and being on a team. I'm sure there's, I want to go play football for Ohio State, right? But like at the end of the day, if you're a wide receiver and they don't need wide receivers, it's probably not going to work out well for you. You've had many of these stories, I'm sure, EB, from timing perspective. But I also want to roll this in. Because coaches are recruiters and most people don't see them as that. They see them as this figure that should be, idolized and bronze statued in whatever campus you're on. What's one good question or a couple of questions that you would advise parents or student athletes to ask that coach to kind of maybe present a little bit of a truth serum to?
One would be, just kind of ask them I think sometimes people try to tailor like the perfect question, and you just got to be authentic. Like, hey, be honest. Where do you see me in your program? Sort of like a job interview, where do you see me in your program? What's the school, or this is what I'm looking to study. What do you feel about that, school life balance, or, just any concern that you have. I can't pinpoint like one question that would set it apart. A lot of these college coaches would sit there and say, look, I bust my butt and chase your butt all around America, especially depending on what you're doing, so when we get down to those points, like that's why you got to have those conversations, whether you're interested or not. one, you don't know where these college coaches are going to end up. Many of them start D3, they work up, or they started at D1, and to get their own program, they take a D3 job. So I think the best thing you can ever do, it's not the questions that you ask, it's just being 100% honest. Ask them anything and everything that you can think of. They are tying their time, resources, money, whatever it may be, into you. So just being authentic and yourself is the most important thing. It's not so much, the right question. It's just, are you being honest with them? Because too many times we get caught up, I got to ask this perfect question because you want to hear what you want to hear. I would ask them the tougher questions or things that you're really nervous about, or that maybe you don't want to hear. Like what's your pain points, or maybe discuss your concerns more so than what you like. And that's where their job is, to kind of smooth that out and iron out those details for you.
To ask the right questions, you also have to do the right research. What is a couple of things that you think kids should know before they even go into that conversation with a coach? What are some individual research things that you think kids and parents should be able to know before they even step into that conversation?
This would be a great question for Ken's too, because Donnie, and they research, hey, this is a good fit for a program. What's a program like? So, you want to look into that. What's a campus like? Get your boots on the ground on that campus, because when you drop your kid off in August, are you going to be comfortable when you can't just, you're breaking their routine that they've had for 12 to 13 years. They wake up, they go to school from 8 to 3, they have practice, they're done homework, go wherever, so now your routine's out of it. So are you comfortable with how your new routine's going to be? And then, you got to research campus resources. What are you close by? I know a lot of people look at it as, I'm far enough away, but I'm close enough to home in case anything happens. I would kind of look at the history of the coach. Have they been 1-2 places and then they bounce? Or, I also kind of look at everyone else on the team. What's the makeup of the team? It's just, you dive a little bit into it, and you gotta, dot some I's, cross some T's. And I'm pretty sure when Ken's went through it, she was with me down at Rose's. I know Wooster saw her there, but she had to do her own homework. It wasn't just like, hey, Wooster sent me a letter, I showed up, and here I am. It all worked out. Her and Donnie were probably looking, okay, this is a drive time. Here's your games. Look at their game schedules in their leagues, especially for parents. You're gonna, I'm assuming most parents are going to want to go watch their child play. Like, well, are they playing, if they're in Ohio, are they playing over in Massachusetts, Michigan? Do they have trips to Florida, whatnot? Those are just all the little things that you got to look at too, because, for the parents, it's a huge expense. Whether your kid's getting money to go to school or not, the parents aren't. They still have to pay for travel and everything else. So those are just some little things that you can look at while you're going down that path as well.
EB, we missed you, brother. We missed you a lot. We're certainly grateful for your expertise. We know you've been keeping an eye on us. For people that were looking to keep an eye on you, what have you been up to, dude?
Work. Obviously, you guys know what I do. I help run the Ohio Lakers, so I'm back with my teams. I have my juniors and I have my 7th grade. So a lot of my juniors, you guys are all pretty well familiar with. They're all YSN kids. You'll see quite a few of them Sunday. So great for me. I'm excited for them. As they know, I will always support that, and what they do with their high schools is great. They have 100% support through me throughout the year, and I kind of just try to become that outlet as I'm not coaching high school anymore, or at least these past 2 years, to where they can kind of use me as a buffer. They all have frustrations, so it's show up, give them some support. Love watching them play. My 7th grade group, I'm excited with them. That's going to be the next crop that comes up through, and I love it because they all come from good programs. They all come from great coaching staffs. From 7th all the way up to 11th, they've all had great years. I have Allie Gassman from Girard. I have the 3 Allie, Tally, and Hallie V from West Branch, and Megan Evie had a great year at Columbiana. Reagan Roginski had a great year at Springfield. Mia Thomas from Howland had another good year, and she's a sophomore that's about to break out. So, those girls, they're getting towards that time of the year where if they're looking to go play, next level, we're trying to help them with that. And I try to help navigate those situations for them, but it's fun when they get to go represent their school at a YSN All-Star game, or what they'll do for their county All-Star games, because that's just credit to the embodiment of the work that they put in year round for it.
And we're going to see a multitude of your players at the YSN All-Star game, so we hope to see you down there as well.
I've already had schedule requests, because that's the first weekend of our tournament, so we will play early, and I told them I don't want anyone to worry about that, so they have plenty of time to get some rest and they can go play and enjoy. I tell them those moments are fun. They're kind of chaotic, but they're meant for them. So, I want them to embrace and not even question if it's going to be something that they have to miss or anything like that. I want them at those All-Star games, because it's their name that they get to put out, and it's an embodiment of their work, their schools, and everything that they get to do for their communities too.
We appreciate you, brother. We will put a table out for you in Boardman, so you can sign all of the copies of your newest best
newest book.
I'll keep it short. That's we got the rest out. I've talked enough already, but it's good to talk to you guys, and definitely we'll be catching up soon.
Appreciate you, man. You're always welcome here. This is home. Appreciate you.
Have a good one, fellas.